I didn't understand success until I took that class, and everything changed. So what happened today, or actually it was a few days ago, Bob showed me his PowerPoint that he's going to share with you tonight. And when I saw the PowerPoint, I was like, oh my God, Bob, that's amazing. I said, that is really, really good. I said, you know, I think it's so good we should share it with others, not just our premium members. This call that you're on is done every week. We do a premium members call for our premium members of 6 Minutes to Success. However, we changed it this week, and we're letting outside people in that aren't in 6 Minutes, that aren't even premium members. So we felt so strong, or both of us felt so strongly, all of us, that the content was so good that we really wanted you here. So for those of you that don't know who Bob Proctor is, he was a star in the movie The Secret, which sold, you know, jillions of copies. I don't even know how many. He's been on Larry King, CNN, Ellen DeGeneres, and more importantly, he absolutely showed me that I could change my life 8 years ago. And as a result of that, everything is so different. I'm so grateful. So with that, Bob Proctor, welcome, and thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Hello there, Lonnie. How are you?
I'm amazing.
Well, we're going to have an amazing evening again. I want to welcome all of you, and I'm going to ask that you keep your eye on the ball. You're going to find with 6 Minutes to Success, we're going to show you how to turn the red lights to green. Then we're going to get them to grow. Then you're going to put money in them, and that's what 6 Minutes to Success is all about. Now, someone says, can you be successful in 6 minutes? Well, the truth is you become successful in a heartbeat. I spent 5 years working with Earl Nightingale. He gave the best definition for success that I ever saw. He said it's the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. He said you could have $1 million working towards having an estate of $10 million. If you're moving in that direction, you're a successful person. You could be a child in grade 5 in school with a C average and you're working towards honors. If you're moving in that direction, you're a successful person. Each one equally as successful as the other. See, it has nothing to do with what you've got. It has to do with where you're going. Well, 6 Minutes to Success was originated a couple of years ago. Tiffany Barron, who is on the line, and Lanny Morton came to me. There was a seminar we were doing at the LAX Marriott in Los Angeles, and they said, Bob, we've got an idea that we think you'd like, and keep in mind, I have people in every seminar, at least a half a dozen come to me with their ideas, and we would like you to consider it and do it with us. Now, I've been in the seminar business for 42 years. I began way back around 1968. I began studying this material in 1961. So I'm not a novice when it comes to this information. And when we put 6 minutes together, I loved your idea. When we put 6 minutes together, it was designed in this manner. We said 6 minutes to success is going to be a resourceful environment. That's really what it is, an environment where people from all over the world, and you just heard people from all over the world, collaborate, mastermind, and explore opportunities while developing financial independence by establishing multiple sources of income. Now, the whole idea was started where I would create a video that would go for a minute or maybe 2 minutes, and then there would be a 3 or 4 or 5 minute exercise that go along with it. People would receive this every morning. They'd watch the video on their computer, and then they'd get involved in an exercise, not long, only a short period of time. And then the idea was you're going to get emotionally caught up with this idea. You're going to play with it just for 4 or 5 minutes. That idea would keep resurfacing in your mind all day long. Now, there are some people who are involved or on the line, and they've let them pile up. They're not using them every day. And that's because they don't really understand why they should use them every day. If you are using them every day and you understand why, God bless you, you're on the right track. If you're not, hopefully this presentation that we're going to put on over the next hour is going to help you understand the value of those short videos and what they can actually do to your mind. I took a mouthful of water there, getting a little dry. At any rate, 6 Minutes to Success is about far more than those short videos. We want to inundate you with information. We want to help you understand what we're doing so we can help you do what you're doing. Now, if you happen to have a problem, something went wrong today, and that problem's on your mind, it's heavy on your mind, I'm going to give you a very effective three-step strategy for staying in control of your life regardless of what happens. This concept comes compliments of my good friend, the Reverend Michael Bernard Beckwith, who you saw in The Secret. He is an absolute genius of a man. He's brilliant. He shared this with me. He shared it with an audience that when I was working with him here a few months back, and I'm going to tell you, I have used it time and time again, over and over again. Let's take a look at this. We'll say this is a situation, any situation. It doesn't matter what it is. You could have lost a lot of money. Maybe you tried something and it didn't work. Somebody might have really cheated you or treated you badly. The white line represents any situation that might happen in your life. Now, on The Secret, you might have heard me quote Dr. Warner von Braun, who is the mastermind of the space program. He said that the natural laws of this universe are so precise that we don't have any difficulty building spaceships. We can send people to the moon, and we can actually time the landing with the precision of a fraction of a second. These laws, he said, must have been set by someone. Well, the law of polarity decrees that everything is good and bad. Everything has an opposite, and yet it's neither. You have a right and a left side to your body, a front and a back. There's an up and a down, the hot and the cold, the inside and outside. It's the opposite side of the same thing. So if we take this situation, we could say that there's something bad about the situation, but we could also say there's something good about the situation. What are you going to find? What you're looking for. Now, if the left side's bad, the right side's good, what's this right in the center? Is it bad or good? Well, the truth is, it just is. It is neither bad nor good. Now, we're going to find exactly what we're looking for. If you're looking for the problem, you're going to find it. And that's the side that usually jumps out at us. Now, if it's just a little problem, we've just gone a little way to the left. If you go way over to the end, it's terrible. But just a little ways to the left, that's not too bad. Now, when you go to the polar opposite, it's equal and opposite. So you over here, it's just a little bit good. Now, if you get away over there where it's fairly bad, when you mentally work your way around to the other side of it, you're going to find it's fairly good. It's very good. And that's really the way it works. Well, as Dr. Beckwith said, when change comes, when anything happens, form the attitude, it is what it is, accept it. It's either going to control you or you're going to control it. Pretty good attitude. Doesn't matter what happened. If it's happened, it's happened. It is what it is. Accept it. Either it's going to control you or you're going to control it. Now, the second step is harvest the good. Harvest the good. The more good you look for, the more you're going to find. Like he says, God is good all the time. So what we want to do is bring our conscious attention over to this side of any situation. I want to suggest you practice that tonight. And the third step is forgive all the rest. Forgive it all. Now take a look at the bad. It's just leaving town. Forgive means to abandon, to let it go completely. And you're going to find when you let the bad grow, the good just keeps growing. Why? Because you're giving energy to it. It's like Emerson said, or Emerson, yeah, he said, the only thing that can grow is the thing that you give energy to. So I'm going to ask you to make a decision. I'm going to share some real powerful information with you. And I want you to really pay close attention. I want you to stop and think of how decisions are made. I'm going to show you something I learned very early, and then I'm going to tell you. And I'll tell you first what happened. I was sitting in a fire hall in a suburb of Toronto back around 1960-61, and a gentleman met me, and he gave me a copy of Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich. He got me to read the preface of the book. It pointed out in there was a secret in the book. He said, if you can find the secret in the book, you can have anything you seriously want. Well, I didn't really believe him. Because I didn't think I could have anything I want. You see, I was earning $4,000 a year, but I owed $6,000. I owed money all over the place. Now, $6,000 in 1960-61 was a fair amount of money. And, of course, if I had paid my debts, it would have taken me 18 months, and I wouldn't have had anything to live on. So, you see, it was sort of a hopeless situation. I really never thought I'd ever get out of debt. But he said, listen, you pay attention to me, do exactly what I tell you, and things will change. Well, he said, do what's in the book. The secret of the book, he said, sit down and decide what you want. Well, and write it on a card. I wanted to have money. I figured if I could get some money, all my problems would go away. Now, I've since learned that's not true, but that's what I was thinking at the time, because my problem was people were phoning saying, where's the money? And I didn't know where the money was. I used to think if I knew where it was, you wouldn't have to phone me. Anyway, I wrote on the card I was going to have in my possession by New Year's Day of 1970, $25,000. I gave myself a decade to do it. You see, I really didn't believe it. But at any rate, he said, just keep reading the card and reading the book. And he kept after me, so I kept doing it. Well, this is odd because I never read a book before. That was the first book I ever read, and I was 26. I started to think about earning money. Now, you say, well, weren't you always thinking about that? No, I wasn't. I was thinking about debt. If your goal is to get out of debt, you'll probably stay in debt forever, because what you think of is what you attract. And that's what most people do that are in debt. They think about debt. They're talking about debt. Woe is me. You know, how am I going to pay the debts? If you think that, you'll attract it. I had this card, and I was thinking about earning money. Somebody said there's good money cleaning floors. You know, I thought, I'm not proud I'll clean floors. A year later, I was earning $175,000. I took it over $1 million. In less than 5 years, I was cleaning offices in Toronto, Montreal, Boston, Cleveland, Atlanta, London, England. Now, if you'd asked me what I was doing that was so brilliant, I sure couldn't have told you. I couldn't figure out what I was doing. I was blown away with it. See, I've been raised to believe if you're going to earn a lot of money, you've got to be really smart. I knew that wasn't true because I wasn't very smart and I was earning a lot of money. I was raised to believe if you're going to build a business, you're going to have a good education. I had 2 months high school, so I found out that wasn't true. And I started to question almost everything. I wanted to know, why did my life change? At any rate, I kept reading the book. I got Earl Nightingale's condensed narration of it. I was driving around with a long-playing record in the car with a battery-operated record player playing this record. And I started to make decisions about my life and where I was going. And I decided I was going to figure out what the heck happened to me. How did I change? Well, here's one of the first lessons. And it's something I did, and I didn't understand I was doing it. Let these lines represent levels of vibration. Levels of vibration are often referred to as frequencies. Well, you and I think on a frequency. Thought is energy. Our brain is an electronic switching station. Let these little puffy clouds represent thoughts. All right? They represent thoughts or ideas, and that's what produces the results you get. You become what you think about. That's the one point all great leaders agreed on. They disagreed on virtually everything else, but that one point they've agreed on, that we do become what we think about. So it's the thoughts we're thinking, and keep in mind the thoughts are on that frequency. It's like music. You can't get music if you're not on the right frequency. And then we decide that's where I'm going to go. And we say, that's something I'm going to do as soon as I get the money. Think how often we say that. I'm going to do that as soon as I get the time. I'll go there as soon as the kids are finished school. And we keep saying these things we're going to do, but it's always when this changes. What we've got to understand, when we want to do something and we say, that's what I'm going to do, then we do it. We flip our brain onto a higher frequency when we make that decision. It's got nothing to do with the money. If you think you have to figure out how to get there before you leave, you're wrong. You don't. You just have to know you're going to get there. When Ed Hillary decided he was going to the top of Mount Everest, he didn't know how he was going to get there. He just knew he was going to get there. Now, it took him 3 years, 3 different tries, 51, 52, it was 53. No one had ever done it, but he did it. Why? He said he was going to do it. The Wright brothers got the plane off the ground. They flipped their brain on to a higher frequency. Now, let's think. Our world is changing, and it's changing very rapidly. The world's not getting bigger. The world's getting smaller. Our world is changing. We're only hours away from anywhere in the world now. We can have business all over the world with the help of what we're doing here, 6 Minutes to Success. We train people to think different. We get you to set up multiple sources of income. Wealthy people historically have always had multiple sources of income. Remember what we said? There's a global thing. Our company is all over the world. Now, the beautiful part about this, although the money comes from all over the world, it all flows to one place. It flows into your bank account. That's a beautiful concept. Do you know you have no idea what you're capable of earning? Now, I found that earning of money was an essential part of growing. It was an essential part of growing. We had to learn how to really come in contact with the big money. Hill talked about it in his book. Listen carefully to this. It's so well written. He said, when money comes in quantities known as the big money, it flows to the one who accumulates it as easily as water flows downhill. Now, he said, there exists a great unseen stream of power, which may be compared to a river, except that one side flows in one direction, carrying all who get into that side of the stream onward and upward to wealth, and the other side flows in the opposite direction, carrying all who are unfortunate enough to get into it and not able to extricate themselves from it downward to misery and poverty. Every person who has accumulated a great fortune has recognized the existence of this stream of life. It consists of one thinking process. The positive emotions of thought form the side of the stream which carries one to fortune. The negative emotions form the side which carries one down to poverty. Now, he said this carries a thought of stupendous importance to the person who is following this with the object of accumulating a fortune. If you're in the side of the stream of power, which leads to poverty, this may serve as an oar by which you may propel yourself over to the other side of the stream. It can serve you only through application and use. Merely reading and passing judgment on it, either one way or another, will in no way benefit you. Now, I said poverty and riches often change places. Poverty may, and generally does, voluntarily take the place of riches. When riches take the place of poverty, the change is usually brought about through a well-conceived and carefully executed plans. Poverty needs no plan. It needs no one to aid it because it is bold and ruthless. Riches are timid. They have to be attracted. Now, what I'm going to go through in the next 40, 45 minutes, I'm going to talk to you about how we get stuck, about how we begin to use our mind, and then I'm going to give you a model of the mind and show you how you can change. If you really pay attention to what I'm doing, the same thing can happen to you as happened to Lanny Morton. When he was in that seminar a number of years ago, everything in his life changed, and it changed like night and day, and he took off like a rocket. How did that happen? Lanny already had the steam. He already had the ideas. He did not have the belief in himself. He did not understand how his mind works. So that's what I'm going to show you. Now, this particular slide is something that I'm going to ask you to burn into your mind. It's of the 3% Club, and it's coming. You're going to find it's coming. I want you to watch for it. I'm going to tell you nothing more about it except that 3% of the population earn 97% of all the money that's being earned. You can question that if you like, but if you check it, you're going to find out it's true. And it's been true for a long, long time. Now, there's the book that I carry. That's the book I study. I started to study that book in 1961. That particular copy my brother had bound in leather and given it to me in 63. You can remember the 6 minutes to success is where it happened for you. Things can happen in your mind that shift and just cause you to look in a different direction. Now, I had a man that gave me this book. He got me to look at it. And he said, Bob, there's paragraphs in this book I want you to pay attention to. And he helped me highlight this. He said, study this paragraph. It's very important. He said, most people wish for success, but they never get it. There's a difference between wishing for something and being ready to receive it. No one's ready for a thing until they believe that they can acquire. The state of mind must be belief and not mere hope or wish. Now, he said open-mindedness is essential for belief. Closed minds will not inspire faith, courage, or belief. You see, hoping and wishing is what I had done for 26 years. It's what most people do throughout their life. 97% of the population, I wished I could get that car. I wished we could take the trips. I wish I could take the kids on a real good vacation. I wish we could buy that home. It's always I wish. I wish I didn't have this job. I wish I had my own business. But you see, they don't believe it can happen, and if they don't believe it, they're not ready for it. Belief is the key word. But you know, I was trying to figure out why I had changed. The word belief you're going to find in all the good books, the Bible, the Bhagavad Gita, the Quran, the Torah, all the religious books, and all the psychology books, all the self-help books. They all tell you you have to believe. But I couldn't find out anyone that could tell me, well, how do you believe? How do you structure yourself? What do you have to do? And you see, it took me 9 years to figure out, why did I go from no formal education, no business experience, from nothing to over $1 million? Why did that happen? How did I build this company? And it took me 9 years to figure it out. and I was looking for it. I was studying. Well, if you come down here to the bottom, I was ready, but I didn't even know it. See, I was believing what Ray told me. He said there's no more effort required in order to aim high in life to demand abundance and prosperity that is required to accept misery and poverty. It's awareness that you're seeking. That's what you're looking for. That's what I'm looking for. The more aware you become, the more that awareness is reflected in the results in your life. People don't earn $50,000 a year because they want $50,000 a year. They earn $50,000 a year because they're not aware of how to earn $50,000 a month. Now, if you're earning $50,000 a year, who do you usually ask how to increase your income? You usually go to the guy next door who doesn't know any more than you. A couple of people sitting down saying, how do you think we should do it? And they're brainstorming together, and neither one of them know. They get little groups together, and none of them know. Carlyle said he did not believe in the collective wisdom of individual ignorance. The one thing that the man that gave me that book told me, he said, Bob, if you want to learn something, go to someone who has done it. If they haven't done it, they don't know it. Do you know that 80% of the people that teach in our educational system have never done what they're teaching? Now think about this. I have been very fortunate. I have had some of the most phenomenal teachers that you'll ever find. Earl Nightingale and Lloyd Conant being a couple of them. I went to work for them. I worked very closely, right beside them for 5 years. I became their vice president of sales. I learned more from them and the people they introduced me to. My whole life changed. Now, I found out you didn't have to work hard to earn a lot of money. As a matter of fact, working is the very worst way to earn money. Now look at this. He took me to another part of the book. He said, Bob, you require specialized knowledge if you're going to win. It's written right here on the page. He said, before you can be sure of your ability to transmute desire into its monetary equivalent, you will require specialized knowledge. Why do you think you find all these people in network marketing companies? I wrote an article for a network marketing company one time called Moral Compensation. I wrote it for a magazine, not for a company. I believe that network marketing is one of the most moral forms of compensation that you're going to find anywhere in the world. Why isn't there more people win at it? Because they don't change what's going on inside. The opportunity can be there. If you don't take advantage of it, it isn't going to work. You need that specialized knowledge. And I thought, this is where I'm sunk. But he took me down a little further on the page. He says, just come right there. And he said, look at this. He said, the accumulation of great wealth calls for power. And power is acquired through highly organized and intelligently directed specialized knowledge. But that knowledge does not necessarily have to be in the possession of the person who accumulates the fortune. Now, when he pointed that out to me, he said, you need the specialized knowledge, but you don't have to have it. That changed my whole world. That's when my company started to take off. I went into different cities and different countries. I was in Canada, the U.S., and in Great Britain. And it was a game I was playing. You see, you can obtain the specialized knowledge you require from 6 minutes to success, saving yourself years of time-consuming study and hardship. When you come on, I heard Lanny, as I come on, he was greeting the people from all over the world. I don't know how many countries we're in, probably about 80 or 90. We have a coaching company that Life Success does that's in something like 86 countries. It's all over the world. Well, you can mastermind with people from all over the world through 6 minutes to success. You can help set up joint ventures. I want you to let this represent a starting point in your life, because what I'm going to get into in a minute is going to show you why you've been doing the same thing over and over for a number of years. You know that you're smart enough. You know you can make it happen, but you're not sure why you're not. And I'm talking about big money. I'm not talking about just making enough to get by. I'm talking enough to live the way you really want to live. You know, you get this thing going right, you can earn money while you're sleeping. In fact, you can earn enough while you're sleeping to do whatever you want when you're awake. Now, you may think that's an exaggeration. The truth is, it's not. You see, when you go to bed, I don't care where you are in the world, someone's getting up and going to work. Well, you could have a joint venture with them. They could be earning you money. See this as a starting point. And those lines that go out, your mind's expanded. Now, think of this. There's two things you have to know to create wealth. Do you know what they are? I know you get all kinds of ideas running around your head. Well, let me help you. You have to know where you are, you have to know where you're going, and then you got to get moving. Now, you'd say, well, it's so simple and obvious. Anybody understands that. Is that right? Why are so many people stuck? If that's the only deal, it's so simple and obvious. Know where you are, know where you're going, and get moving. Why are there so many people stuck? You see, you go into most self-help books or get into their programs, and you're going to find that usually the finger's pointed here. You don't have a goal. You haven't got the right goal. I don't believe that. I think people know what they want. They may not take it serious. There's your problem there. People don't know where they are. Well, I don't mean physically. I know I'm sitting in my office right now and working with a monitor and on the phone. I know that. I know exactly where I am physically. I'm talking about psychologically. Where's your mind at? You see, your mind is what controls your world. Paradigms are the problem. Now, paradigms are the problem. You may not be familiar with what a paradigm is. Your guy next door probably isn't either. I've written articles on it. It's amazing how few people really understand what a paradigm is. Now, you might ask yourself, what are paradigms? Paradigms are nothing but a multitude of habits. They're other people's habits. That's right. They're passed along from one generation to the next. That's called genetic conditioning. Do you know that little particle of energy from mom and a little particle from dad, that came together and zippo, they joined together, they became one. That was the nucleus of you. Do you know all mom's DNA and all dad's is there? All their habit patterns, their idiosyncrasies. Why do you think you look so much like your relatives? You have been programmed to. You'd wonder how a program could be in that little speck. Well, how do the smartphones work? We're making them. If we can make them, I think God can program that power. Well, that's what it is. That's the paradigm. It's a multitude of habits. And then when you're born, you have the environmental conditioning. But we'll come back to that. Let's take a look at this. You and I face a huge challenge in life. It costs us both time and money. It's called paradigms. Do you know, your paradigms literally shape your logic. If your paradigm shaping your logic, now understand, the paradigm is a control in your mind. It's a multitude of habits that have been formed genetically and environmentally. And those habits control our behavior and they control our thinking. So you get to a point where you say, well, you just can't go from $50,000 a year to $50,000 a month. Yes, you can. You can turn your annual income to a monthly income. Yes, you can. I went from $4,000 to over $1 million. Yes, I did. And yes, you can. You see, I didn't know what I was doing, so I just did it. Do you know that most highly successful people cannot tell you why they are highly successful? They don't know why. They just do it. Corporations are studying them, trying to figure it out. People don't do things as a rule that are illogical. They'll say, that's not reasonable. You just can't do that. That is foolish. You're just setting yourself up for a disappointment. That's how the masses think. That's not how that 3% think. Man, they go through terror barriers. They go through brick walls. They climb mountains. They fly airplanes. They illuminate the world. Stop and think. And we believe that they've got something going we don't have going. They do. It's called thinking. Your paradigm shapes your perception. I was in a seminar the other day, and there was a woman in the front. I said, the masses here in this audience would say, you're black, wouldn't they? And she smiled and she'd say, yes, I guess they would. And then they'd say, I'm white. She'd say, yes, I guess they would. And I said, I got a white shirt on, but I'm not the color of my shirt. I said, the truth is, if anybody ever saw a white person, they'd probably be scared. They'd think, what's the matter with that person? You've never seen a white person, nor have you ever seen a black person. You may have seen a dark brown, you may have seen light skin, but they're not white, they're not black. Why do we say black and white? Because that's what we see. You see, our eyes deceive us. We don't see with our eyes, we see through our eyes, we see with cells of recognition in our brain, and we have been programmed to see things that are not there. See, your paradigm even controls how you utilize your time. I remember one time I was having breakfast with Earl Nightingale when I worked with him, and I asked him, I said, Earl, how did you learn to master time management? You look at these, what are you talking about? He said, I never mastered time management. Nobody masters time management. He said, time can't be managed. He said, I simply manage activities. And he took this 8.5 by 11 sheet that was folded twice out of his suit coat pocket. And he had some things written on it. He said, I sit down with a little piece of paper like this every night, and I find what I'm going to do tomorrow. And then I set out and do it. He said, there's no trick to it. He said, most people, they just waste their life. Do you know everybody gets the same amount of time? We get all there is. It's what we do with our time. That's a habit, too. Have you ever noticed when you get up, you have a routine? That's right. Do you know I got the people in the Prudential of America to get in front of a prospect before 9 a.m. in the morning? Do you know the sales in that company went up by hundreds of millions of dollars? It's all written in books. It's there. They were going to the office. They thought they were going to work. They never sold insurance to other agents in their office. Then they go to lunch with the agents. I said, get in front of a prospect early in the morning. I asked, how many of you would like to have every evening off? They all held up their heads. I said, then go to work in the morning. See, they weren't in the habit of working in the morning. Do you know that your effectiveness is controlled by your paradigm? That's that panel, your productivity. And get this, the amount of money you earn is controlled by a paradigm. See, what happened to Lanny Morton 8 years ago in that seminar, he shifted his paradigm. What happened to me back in 1961, I shifted my paradigm. It took me 9 years to figure out what I had done. If you don't understand paradigms and how they can be changed, the odds of changing it are pretty slim. Now look at, you have to ask yourself, can I change the paradigm? The answer is an emphatic yes. And when you really understand that, you know something? That's when you have hope. And get this, if you have hope, you have options. Now, you see, up until I met Ray Stanford and he gave me that book, I thought I was stuck. You know what he did? He said, Bob, there's many roads lead to Rome. He said, you can go there any way you want. He said, you have the ability to think. You have the ability to choose. You can choose what you want to do. You can develop yourself in anything you want. God's gift to man is more talent and ability than he'll ever hope to use in his lifetime. Our gift to God is to develop as much of that talent and ability as we can in this lifetime. We have options. And you know what most people do? They're extras in their own movie. They never really say, I'm going, and set out to go after what they really want. Most people compromise. They go after what they think they can do based on what they've done in the past. Forget the past. Forgive it. Let it go. Focus on who you are and what you are. Hold your hand in front of your face. Do you know there's more power in that hand than you'd need to light up the house you're in for weeks? There's about 11 million kilowatt hours per pound potential energy locked up in the electrons and the atoms of your body. And then we say, it's just me. What do you mean just me? You're a power center. You're one of the highest forms of creation on the planet. You've been gifted with intellectual faculties that no other form of life has. And we don't go after what we want. Well, I train people to go after what they want. That's what 6 minutes is all about. Where do wants come from? And why don't we act on them? Think of what you want. I want a new Ferrari. I want to travel. I want to go to beautiful places for vacation. I want to take the kids around the world. I want to send the kids to the best schools in the world. Well, you see, we have to ask ourselves, where do they come from? To clearly establish what it is that you really want, ask yourself where wants come from. Begin to develop a working knowledge of the mind and how it functions, since that's where you first discover your wants. If you like what you hear, you will probably hear more from us, especially if you're part of 6 Minutes to Success, because we're going to up the ante. We're going to move it faster. But think of this for a moment. You know, wants, I want you to write this down. I want you to write on a piece of paper, and I want you to save it. Because if you're around, like I said, you know, watch for it when it comes to 3% Club. Understand this. Your spiritual DNA is perfect. Your spiritual DNA is perfect. There's perfection in every one of us. And that perfection is ever seeking expression with and through us. That's why we want more all the time. And just, you know, I was raised with the idea you should be satisfied with what you've got. You should never be satisfied with what you've got. Dissatisfaction is a creative state. You should always want more. I'm not talking to get and to hoard and make yourself think you're better than your neighbor. Wanting is what causes us to grow as we stretch, as we go after more things. I was 76 on my last birthday. I got more energy than most people, 26. I plan to move all over the world in the next few years. I have no intentions of slowing down. We've got an abundance of energy. Power flows to and through us. Write it down. Your spiritual DNA is perfect. Now, we have something coming on that that'll blow your mind. Okay? Let's look at this for a moment. There are 7 levels of awareness. You're going to relate to this. You go from the animalistic state to mastery. And we know that some people act like animals. Some act worse than animals. You'll see them sleeping on the street. They smell the high heaven. They do nothing. They beg. Then there's other people that have mastered things. You see them. They may be in sports. or whatever, but they master it, whatever they're doing. They just become so good at it. Well, we start out down here as little children reacting. Hopefully we end up here responding. You see, when you react, it's fight or flight. When you respond, it's think and plan. Now, that's where we want to go. We want to raise our level of consciousness to that level. Now, we leave when we're little kids, we get out and we follow the masses. And you're playing with the masses, but one day you aspire to more. Why? You desire something greater than you've got. You want to run faster, jump higher. You want to win the game. Why? You want to excel. You see, you want to express your uniqueness as a human being. These are level of consciousness. Now, we move up to this point fairly rapidly as little kids. And it's because we have this desire. Now, some kids have excellent mentoring, they get excellent tutorage, and they go on and they really make it happen. But that's only 2 or 3 out of 100. You see, that inside saying, go for it. It's the uniqueness wanting to be expressed, but the paradigm back here. Who do you think you are? What do you think, you're better than us? Come on, play with us. And the other side says, no, come here. The other side said, you can't go there. Can you see that's the battle of Armageddon? Go, don't go, go, don't go. Well, you see, when you get stuck there, you have to ask why. And as we start to understand why, we start to understand that there is a power within us that wants us to move ahead, to create, to move to a higher level. And the old paradigm inside, that's those old habits, they don't want to go. Go talk to somebody that's trying to quit smoking. Go to talk to somebody that's trying to get off drugs. They're very destructive habits. They have a difficult time. Take a look at a child that's trying to get a better mark through forcing themselves to study. It isn't going to happen. That child has to be taught something about their mind, how to improve their self-esteem, and then the marks will follow. This is so beautiful. How do we move ahead? There it is right there. You don't listen to the crowd. You discipline yourself. You give yourself a command and you follow it. That's what discipline is. And you step out and you do it, and you're going to find when that happens, your actions change your results. And that's what I did. I broke away from the mass when I was on the fire hall back around 1961. I got a new idea and I acted on the idea. And you know something? My whole life changed. But I didn't know what I was doing. And in trying to figure out what I was doing, I put the information together. And I found out I had a marvelous mind. And I found out I was a spiritual being. And I found out I lived in a physical body. Most people think they're having a spiritual experience. They're not having a spiritual experience. They're having a physical experience. They're a spiritual being. And there's a big difference there. You are a spiritual being having a physical experience. And unlike any other form of animal life that's been created, you are given an intellect. You are given creative faculties. You have creative faculties. You are able to create. There is no other creature on the planet that can do what you do. You can be in charge of your emotions. You can control your vibration. You control your vibration. You control what you attract to you. You know, The Secret, a lot of people loved it. Hundreds of millions of people saw it. It also stirred up a lot of criticism. People say, well, that's attraction. I don't really know if I believe that. So attraction is a secondary law. The primary law is vibration. You are in a vibration. You are always vibrating. The only thing you can attract to you are things you vibrate in harmony with. If you're worried, you're going to attract what you worry. You go back to the Bible. The great sufferer Job, he said, lo, the thing I fear has come to visit upon me. This information's been around for light eon years. We've got to learn that our marvelous mind is loaded. We live on 3 planes of understanding. Now think of this for a moment. You and I have infinite potential. We really do. But we've got to understand how spirit works, how energy works. Let this glass represent a glass of water. Now we know that energy can be neither created nor destroyed. But if I add heat to that water, what's going to happen? It's not going to be water anymore. It's going to turn into steam. It's the same energy, exactly the same energy, but it's moving at a different speed. And as we continue to add heat, it moves up on into the ether. You can't see it there. You could see it when it was water. Now think of this. Let these lines represent levels of vibration. As you look at this, you're going to realize the steam and the water, they're all hooked together. How do I mean that? Well, each level of vibration is hooked up to the one above and the one below. Each frequency is hooked up to the one above and the one below. There's no line of demarcation where the water stops being water and starts being steam. It's all joined together. Well, you know that you are an expression of an infinite power that flows to and through you. And you have creative faculties in your mind that can tap into an infinite source of power, and you can create your world. Oh, yes, you can. And we've been told that by the wisest all down through the centuries. But we're not taught this in school. The SIP, that's spiritual, intellectual, and physical. Now, I want to suggest when you activate these faculties, which I'm going to show you in a few minutes, your whole world will start to change. You see, as you activate your intellectual factors, you tap into the non-physical world, the spiritual world, that world that's omnipresent and all-knowing and all-powerful, and you pull thoughts together and build ideas. We're the only form of life that's able to do that. And by holding that idea, it moves into form with and through us and manifests as results. Andrew Carnegie, who in a certain time when he was mentoring Napoleon Hill, was the wealthiest man in the world. He was a billionaire. He said, any idea that is held in the mind, that's emphasized, that's either feared or revered, begin at once to clothe itself in the most convenient and appropriate physical form that's available. Now think for a moment of what we're doing. We are actually creating. We are building ideas. Do you know Viktor Frankl? He said this is the last of human freedoms, the ability to think, to build our own ideas. And he said, regardless of the intellectual or physical abuse he was subjected to in a concentration camp, he said no one could cause him to think something he didn't want to think. We have power. Look at this. Let's relate it to another form of life, how these laws all work, okay? And then we'll maybe find out how it's going to work for us, okay? If I can get this to go now, I'm getting it jammed, all right? There we go. All right, let this acorn, I want you to think of how it works. That is an acorn, a little nut. It is actually energy at a certain speed of vibration. Because of the speed it's vibrating at, we call it an acorn, all right? Now, that acorn, Aristotle used to tell his students, had an oak tree in it. He'd ask them, what is this? And he wanted the people to say, it's an oak tree. The truth is, there's no oak tree in that acorn. You could dissect that under the most powerful microscope in existence. You will find no oak tree in it. What is in the acorn is a nucleus or a pattern plan that controls the vibratory rate of that little mass of molecules that we call an acorn. It's energy. It can only vibrate at one speed. It has no ability to change its speed, so it can only grow into one thing, an oak tree. Now, it's in the earth. The earth is energy. There's all different levels of energy in that earth, vibrating at different speeds. Let that green dot represent energy that's in harmonious vibration with the acorn. Because it's in harmony, it'll be attracted to the acorn. When it gets to the acorn, what's it do? It resonates. It becomes one with the acorn. It's like two drops of water coming together. It becomes a bigger drop. And it becomes one with the acorn. Now, that's just symbolic. It's attracting energy all around it. And what happens? Well, as it becomes one with the acorn, it expands. Now, this takes a period of time, but over a period of time, we attract then from the atmosphere as well as from the earth and the roots and the bark and the branches, the twigs and the leaves, and millions of other acorns. See, the potential is locked up in the seed, but it has to be planted in the right environment. If you carried that acorn in your pocket, it would never grow. It would die. Well, that's exactly the same with you or me. If we're not in the proper environment, we die. I never was in the proper environment. I hung out with the wrong people. I hung out with people that were like me. They were hanging out with the wrong people when they were with me. We did nothing. We thought we were smart guys. We'd go sit in a bar, maybe shoot pool. That was all we did. We never worked. We were dumb. There was puddles of dumb all around us. You know, when I started to study what I did, I started to mix with a different group of people. It was a transition. I never consciously knew what I was doing. I was attracted to different people. Look at this. A pattern plan is in the seed. It controls the vibration of the seed. The energy that created the oak tree was always here. It's in harmony with and was attracted to the seed. Now look at the acorns in the earth. The energy for the oak tree is in the universe. The law of attraction brings them together. You build an idea in your mind. The idea in your mind controls the vibration you're in, and that'll control what you attract to you. Now, unlike the acorn, you can build any idea you want. Think of this. You have infinite potential. All science, all theology teach us that. No one knows what you and I are capable of doing. Do you understand how your mind works? Most people don't. You and I think in pictures. Think of a feather. You don't think F-E-A-T-H. Think of a hot air balloon. You don't think H-O-T-B-L-O. No, you get a picture of a balloon. Your mind works in images. We're talking about the miracle of the mind. Dr. J.B. Ryan, who was one of the most foremost authorities in the area of the mind, he said the mind is the greatest power in all of creation. Now, let me ask you this. What does your mind look like? If you don't know what it looks like, how are you going to work with it? If you're going to work with anything, you have to get an image of what it is you're working with. I don't care if you're going to, I don't know, work with your backyard. You have to know what you want, what kind of flowers you want to plant, where do you want the grass. If you want to paint a room or decorate a room, what do you want? You've got creative abilities. Think. Most people look at their brain as being their mind. Your brain isn't your mind any more than your fingernail is. Your brain is an electronic switching station. That's really what it is. Your mind activates brain cells, and as those brain cells are activated, you can move the vibration that you're in. That's why I say I really believe I could teach anyone how to become a millionaire. I just show you how to work with your mind to put yourself into a vibration of prosperity. You start to see abundance rather than lack and limitation. Now, there was a doctor in San Antonio, Texas, way back around 1934, and he said, we've got a serious problem. He said, all we're doing is treating physical ailments. We're treating symptoms. We're not treating the cause of problems at all. He said, if we're going to get involved in holistic health, we've got to treat the whole person. We've got to treat them spiritually, intellectually, and physically. And to do that, we need an image of the mind. Now, since nobody's ever seen the mind, I'm going to make a picture of the mind. And he said, there it is. Now, I could take you to wardens in maximum security prisons, and they'll tell you that's a very valuable drawing, because I've worked in maximum security prisons, and I've had them release people that were considered mad dogs. I've seen the Canadian government tear up a man's parole, give him his passport, because I took him to England with me when I was opening an office. He was one of the most valuable employees I had. I used to speak in a maximum security prison every Saturday. I did it for about 5 years. I heard a lot of them. I've worked with kids in school, and I've watched them go from C&D average to an A&B average almost overnight. I couldn't even count the number of people that are earning millions of dollars today. If you talk to John Assaraf that you saw in The Secret, John was about 20 years old when I started to work with him when he first saw this. Go study with him for a minute. He'll tell you that's the most valuable lesson you'll ever learn. John's earned up to $18 million in a year. Is it a valuable idea? Oh, I think it is. Go ask the people in Prudential. They'll say this is the most valuable idea they've ever seen. Do you know what this does? This brings order to your mind. Now look at. Let that represent the conscious, and that's the subconscious. So you see your head as your mind. That's not really the way it is. Mind's in every molecule of your being. But you have to have an image to work with. Now you see the body as an instrument of the mind. When you stand and watch a body moving around, you have a pretty good idea what's going on in their mind. You see them, they start here, they go there, they go somewhere else. They do this, they do a little bit of that. You know, there's confusion in their mind. You watch them, there's order to what they're doing. There's symmetry to what they're doing. They have order in their mind. You see, your conscious mind has the ability to think. That's the highest function that you're capable of. I think I already mentioned that's the one point all great leaders agreed on, that we have the ability to think. We can become what we think about. This is what we call the educated mind. Now, unfortunately, this is what school believes. If they dump enough books in there, that you're going to make it. Well, there's a lot of people with degrees coming out the end of the business cards, and they're not making it. They're educated derelicts. We are disillusioned. We are sold a bill of goods. An education is not remembering everything that's in books for a number of years. Education comes from the Latin educo, meaning to educe, develop, or to draw from within. This is a part of our mind that's our intellect. And that's what we worship. We don't worship the higher side of a person's personality. We worship their intellect. We're living in the age of the intellect, where we're moving. there's a spiritual transition taking place throughout the world. If the program you're studying doesn't have a spiritual foundation, it's incomplete. I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about the power that moves the whole universe. Your subconscious mind operates quite differently. That's your emotional mind. Now, your conscious mind has the ability to choose. You can choose anything you want. J. Martin Corey wrote a book, Your Greatest Power. That's your greatest power right there, the ability to choose. What are you going to choose? Are you going to choose to say, hey, this is pretty interesting, and then let it go at that? This is just another webinar, another lesson. I'm going to tell you, I'm exposing you to some of the most valuable information you're going to find anywhere in the world. I'm not bragging. I can brag about the ideas all I want because they're not mine. I have been fortunate enough to study with some of the most brilliant people in the world, and I have been fortunate enough to have them explain it in a very simple manner because I'm a reasonably simple guy, but I've learned how to communicate it effectively. You have the ability to accept or reject anything in your life. Anything that comes down the road, you can reject it if you don't want, or you can accept it. You also have the ability to originate. All those powers are in your conscious mind. Now, your subconscious mind operates quite different. It has no ability to reject. It must accept. Now, these are key points that I'm going to bring up in a minute. You're going to see why they're key points. Your subconscious mind cannot reject. Whatever you give to it, it'll accept it and as real. It cannot differentiate between what's real and what's imagined. Now, that is a very powerful information. Most people accept what's going on around them, and they buy into it. Why? They're not thinking. Here, let these represent you. That's you today. This is you when you were an infant. Now, today, you've developed your intellect. You have the ability to think. You're a big boy, a big girl. Your conscious mind's developed. So when you hear something on the radio, you don't have to accept that. When other people tell you something, you don't have to. They say, well, everybody's doing it. Probably be a good reason not to do it. When the TV's telling you or the newspapers, they're telling you about the bad economy, you say, not for me. Do you know during the worst economy, there was people earning millions? When somebody starts talking about the bad economy, walk away from them. It's contagious. It's more contagious than smallpox. Don't listen to that. Mix with people who are going to build you up and tell you how great you are and how great the world is that we're living in. You see, your conscious mind has a reasoning factor. It has the ability to choose. It has the ability to think for itself. And right now, when all that information comes, if you're not thinking, it'll go right into your subconscious mind. You have the ability to reject it. But when you're a child, that's not the way it was. Look at your conscious mind hadn't even developed when you were a child. And here all this stuff was around, and it's pouring right into our subconscious mind. Over and over again, day after day, until we're, 5, 6, 7 years old, and the mind becomes programmed. That's where your self-image was formed. You see a person, and they're shy and quiet and withdrawn. That person never received a lot of support as a kid. Their self-image is part of their paradigm. What did we say paradigm was? It's a multitude of habits in the subconscious mind. They're there genetically and environmentally. Child's born into a home that speaks English, they'll speak English. They're born into a home that speaks French, they'll speak French. A child is a bilingual genius. You can teach them any language or any number of languages. You see, the conscious mind has no ability to reject. It'll take whatever you give to it. You can tell them they're stupid, they'll buy into it. You can tell them they're genius, they can buy into that. You can tell them they're beautiful, they'll believe it. You tell them they're ugly, and they'll believe that. Stop and think of the damage that's been done by ignorant and superstitious people that loved us. You see, I was born during the Depression, so I was fed a lot of poverty. I had to really do some work on me. Well, after a while, there you are. The conscious mind's developed again, you can think. And you see, we live in a world where we live through our sensory factors. That's really what we're doing. We're living through our sensory factors. It's what's going on outside and comes right into our conscious mind. But understand this is also our intellectual mind. That we have these higher faculties. We have perception, the will, imagination, memory, intuition, and reason. Now, do you know that you can develop these to a phenomenal degree? I was teaching people on a conference call the other night how to memorize a book. Jerry Lucas was teaching people how to memorize the Bible. You've got a marvelous imagination. The will, as you develop your will, you develop your ability to concentrate. Oh, you can develop it to a phenomenal degree. Your perception, man, you can be changing your perception all the time. You can start to see things that no one else sees. Your intuitive factor, come up and ask me what you're like when you meet me. I'll tell you exactly what you're like. I could read your energy like a book. You see, we are energy. We're in a high speed of vibration. The intuitive factor is what picks up energy and reads it. People think I'm psychic. The truth is I am, but so are you. Psyche is the Greek word for mind, and you've got mental faculties. And as you develop these faculties, great things happen. And the reasoning factor, that's what you think with. Now look, it's with this that we have the ability to get rid of that paradigm. We can say to the paradigm, get out of town. And then we can go ahead and we can build what we want in our mind. Now look, you have the ability to create the image and impress it upon the subconscious mind. Remember we said the subconscious could not reject it, so it controls the vibration. And we get a picture of beauty, of abundance, and we stay involved in it. We do not let what's going on outside move us off that. Now look at here for a moment. Let me back that up. When you impress an image upon the subconscious mind, that image dictates your vibration. Then whatever's in harmony with your vibration is attracted into your life. Now, you might be wondering, what am I attracting into my life? There's no secret, babe. I'm telling you, it's easy to find. Just take a look at the results you're getting. They'll answer the question for you. Now think of that for a moment. What do you want to attract into your life? You see, 6 minutes to success, we deal with wants. We deal with wants. That's what we focus on, wants. We change paradigms. That's really what it's all about. Now keep thinking about this. You see, all the money in the universe is available to you. All you have to do is earn it. That doesn't mean you have to work. Napoleon Hill said, if you believe hard work and honesty alone will attract wealth, forget it. It doesn't work. It's by working with law, with definite ideas. I want you to imagine your life being guided. Let's suppose I take the knowledge I've got and I share it with you. What happens then? You've got it. And you can develop it and pass it on to someone else. We want to be guided. We want to be studying this material continuously. I've been studying it for 50 years. And I've been sharing it for 42 years, teaching it. It's a beautiful concept. It really is. It's a great way to live. Now look at this. We're just about here for a landing. The conscious mind is the intellectual mind, and that's where the wants are surfacing. Unfortunately, that's about as far as they go with most people. You see, the subconscious mind is the paradigm, and the want is not in harmony with the paradigm. The paradigm produces the result. You see, the law of attraction is always working, but you attract to you according to your paradigm. Now, as you start to understand how the mind works and you dig into this in depth, you know what you do? You change the paradigm. You turn the image of what you want into the new paradigm, and that's what you attract. It's a beautiful thing. You see, Joe Barker wrote the book on paradigms. He said to be able to shape your future, you have to be willing and able to change your paradigm. Now, I'm going to leave you with a couple of ideas. I want you to look at this circle again. There's the mind. Let your head represent the mind. Then put a beautiful line right across the center of it, and you say, there's the conscious and subconscious mind, okay? And I know how they work now. And I'm going to be in control of this body that I'm living in, and I'm going to get the results I want. I know that what's going on outside comes into my consciousness through my senses. I know they're hooked up to my conscious mind like antennae, but I also know when stuff comes in, I'm going to ask myself, is this idea or is this suggestion going to serve me well? Is it going to move me in the direction of my goal? If the answer is no, we reject it. How do we do that? Well, remember I said the conscious mind was the intellectual mind? That's where the perception lies, right? Now look at it's through these beautiful faculties that we have the ability to get rid of that paradigm. So you see, those of you who are in 6 minutes, make up your mind, make a decision that every morning you're going to use that video as it's meant to be used. Watch the vision, watch the picture, and then do the exercise. They may seem silly, but I'm going to tell you, they put you in the vibration that you have to be in, and the idea will keep surfacing all day long. And when you do that, you're developing these higher faculties, and you're getting rid of that paradigm. You're forming your own new paradigm, and you're moving into the vibration you want to be in. Now, this is what happens when you do that. There's your thinking mind. This is what the 6 minutes is all about. You think for yourself, but understand that does not mean that you're living in a different world. You're living in the same world. Your sensory factors is picking up all that jazz from outside. It comes into your consciousness, and it could control your feelings if you let it. If you let the old paradigm control you, but you say, no way, Jack, get out of town. I am going to let my own thoughts control my emotions. I'm going to let my subconscious mind be filled with my own ideas. That'll control my vibration and control my actions and my results. As you see, it's simply a matter of making a decision of how you want to live. What you're going to do with this information. Are you going to put it to good use, or are you going to treat it like everything else? You see, this isn't a matter of just what you got in school. This isn't a matter of, say that's interesting and try and see how much of it you can remember. What I've gone through this tonight is to show you, to create an awareness that there is a way you can gain a real understanding of how your marvelous mind works and how you can change the paradigm. You can change anything in your life. All things are possible by law. But I'm going to tell you something. If you think it's going to happen by accident, you're kidding yourself. It isn't. It's going to happen because you decide it's going to happen, and then you make up your mind you're going to work with it. So those of you who are getting the 6 minutes every morning, lock onto them. Form the habit of watching them every morning and do it forever. First thing I do in the morning, I get up around 5:30. I immediately go to my office and I take a book off the shelf. If you're ever in my office or you're in Toronto, come and see me. I've got around 3,000 books on my shelf. They're all dealing with the same thing. That's why we do what we do. There's marvelous books on my shelves. I got 3 sitting on my desk right now that my son gave me for my birthday. They're all over 100 years old. And they're great books. I really enjoy reading them. But I sit down and I start reading. I study every day. But you know something else? I have a shower every day, sometimes a couple of times a day. I shave every day. I comb my hair and brush my teeth frequently. I put on clean clothes. I eat. These are all parts of my habit. Do you know something else? I study every day. My consciousness is expanded a little bit today over yesterday. And if you make up your mind you're going to do this, and you don't just study at random and study with no thought, it's always directed towards a goal. And make sure the goal's big. You don't have to know how you're going to do it. You only have to know that you're going to do it. I want to thank you for coming on the line, and I particularly want to thank you for coming back, because we did have 10,700 people, I believe is the last count I had, that signed up for this webinar. We looked at, well, Tiffany thought there was an extra 0 put on by mistake. You say, you don't usually get 10,700 people that sign up for a webinar if you give a webinar. Now, if you give them and you want to learn how to do it, we can obviously teach. We can obviously teach you how to do it. Anything you see coming from 6 minutes, I guarantee it's good. If it's not good, it's not going to come. I will not permit anything that's inferior to what we teach. I will not permit any program to come out that hasn't got a spiritual foundation. You've got to go right to the core of your problems if you want to change them. I've enjoyed doing this, and I'm glad you came back for the second one. It's been a pleasure for me to serve it. I want to thank Tiffany and Lanny, who are really working overtime to try and get this thing flying. And Lanny, I'll turn it back over to you.
Hey, thanks a lot, Bob. And again, I just want to acknowledge you people that are here on the call, because you're different. You know, it was easy for those guys that got in on the first one because they were there, but you actually made a decision and came on again. So I want to commend you for that. On the first webinar, I asked Bob's permission to offer the $1 trial for 6 minutes. Hey, this is not a pitch whatsoever. You know, this webinar was designed just to be a gift to you, to raise your level of awareness and make your life better. However, Bob has agreed. We've been sold out for a few months on 6 minutes, but he has agreed for tonight. If anybody wants to jump on that $1 6 minutes trial, we'd be happy to give it to you. And I'm going to go ahead and put the link in the chat window. Oh, sorry, there goes my dogs. Anyway.
The dog's buying your idea.
Yeah, see, hey, that's nothing to work at. Hey, Be quiet. Sorry. Anyway, I'm gonna that's really cool. Shh, quiet. Hey Bob, the dogs really liked the webinar. They liked it so much they're barking for it. You like
That's
that?
good.
Anyway, I'm gonna throw a link in here. It's gonna be for quiet, guys. Anyway. Whoops, sorry. I'm going to put that link in the chat window. It'll be up in just a second. We're also going to send you a quick email on that. All right, so thanks so much for coming on. I really appreciate your time. And Bob, thanks again for coming back a second time, because, you know, that I don't know of anybody else that would have come back and done a second webinar just to be there for all the people that missed out. So I know all the people that missed out. I've been getting your messages. They're all super grateful. And and there's a ton of thank yous. So on behalf of all the users and myself and Tiffany, Bob, thank you so much.
Thank you, Lanny.
All right. Good night, everybody. Hope you enjoyed it.